This morning we're at the North Loop Trailhead and we are heading for Mummy's Toe. Now, Mummy's Toe is that formation, you can't see it from here, but it's the formation that you see when you are standing on Fletcher Peak, and it's the leading edge of Mummy Mountain, the closest cliff. If you're standing on at Raintree, you look up and you see a cliff. That's Mummy's Toe. This is not Mummy's Toe we're looking at, but it's basically the only view that we have from where we're standing here. If you're standing on Mount Charleston and you look over at Mummy Mountain, Mummy Toe would be on the right, the leading edge, the cliff. Now, there's Mummy Mountain. And so Mummy's Toe, from this perspective, is on the left. And there's a possibility that this right here may be Mummy's Toe, but I'm not sure. I think it's further up. Anyway, we're going to head to Mummy's Toe, and what we'll do is we'll head up the North Loop Trail. We will take a right at Raintree toward Mummy Springs. We'll pass Mummy Springs and then head up some switchbacks, and then if we continued straight up, we'd be at Mummy's Knee. But on the other hand, what we're going to do is we're going to angle off to the left as we get close to Mummy's Knees and reach the toe. We have never been there before, so it's going to be interesting. There is no trail, as usual. Okay, here we go. Oh, by the way, it is the last Saturday in July 2020. We've arrived at my favorite mid-route plateau. It's about a mile above the North Loop Trailhead. And by the way, the North Loop Trailhead would rank as what I call the most beautiful trailhead, with the pine trees at the, just stately pine trees all along the first mile of the route, changing from pine to, bristlecone pine later, and you can see the two types. Pine to the right, and I don't know if that's ponderosa, and then bristlecone to the left. What I like about this is that just 1 mile up the trail, this is a destination spot in itself, where you can see a lot of things coming into view. Let's take a look just a moment. Good place to rest. Lots of logs to sit on. And yeah, if you're new to hiking or new to ascent and elevation, this is around 9,000 feet or more. This is actually a good destination for a first hike as you're acclimatizing yourself to elevation. Okay, here we've got Mummy Mountain, and you can't see the toe just now, but you can see Mummy's Knees, and on LasVegasAreaTrails.com there's a page for Mummy's Knees. That's where Mummy's Knees are. And then over the hill here would be Fletcher Peak. You can't see it from this spot. On a clear day or in the evening when the sun is behind me, you're looking down into Centennial Hills and you see beautiful view. There, I believe, is just faintly Gas Peak. You know, I could be wrong on that, but I believe it is Gas Peak. When I get higher, I'll be able to tell. And look at these bristlecone pines here. So, as I said, this is my number one mid-route plateau on a trail. Just for its beauty, its stark beauty. And you can see this, by the way, from higher up. And I've got images of this spot from the summit of Mummy Mountain and from Mummy's Knees. So there you have it. Now we're getting ready to hit what I call Planet Switchback, which is a number of switchbacks going straight up this slope here. Okay, here we go. Okay, we're on Planet Switchback, and I thought I'd just take a moment and share my steep switchback ascent strategy. Well, actually, this is a moderate switchback compared to what we're going to be on later today. But we're looking at about 11 switchbacks. You see I'm a little bit out of breath even now. 11 switchbacks that ascend in a very short distance, about 500 feet. So when you're on a switchback like this, or when you're ascending, shorten your steps. And if it's a steeper ascent, like what we're going to experience later, you shorten a little bit more. Plus you may take pauses between steps, which is called a rest stride. Anyway, at this angle of ascent, we'll just shorten our strides. Then one other trick that I have is I just tell myself I'm relaxing. My intention is that I'm relaxing here, and that by the time I reach the summit of these switchbacks, I will be refreshed. Now that's a little different than when a person says, I'm going to attack this switchback. And yeah, you can attack it, but when you reach the top of the switchbacks, you may be a little bit drained. When I reach the summit of these switchbacks, I'll be ready to run again. So, shortened strides, relax. I even believe I can slow down my metabolism and almost be in a semi-sleep state. And it's early in the morning, so that helps too. Anyway, that is my Planet Switchback strategy. 11 switchbacks with an ascent of around 500 feet in a short period of time. And at this angle of ascent, just relax. Go into a semi-sleep state, shorten your strides, and by the time you reach the top, you'll feel like you have rested instead of feeling spent. Okay, onward. Here we are at the summit of Planet Switchback. We just ascended 11 switchbacks, 500 feet. I'm a little out of breath, but actually I feel pretty rested because of my switchback strategy. And I feel rested enough that instead of continuing on the North Loop Trail, I'm going to veer to the right here and take what I'd call the North Loop Ridge. This is a beautiful little ridge that shows awesome views of Mummy Mountain and Mummy's Toe and Fletcher Peak. And we may actually, if we've got time at the end of this adventure, if we got a little extra time, we may actually shoot on up to Fletcher Peak. No promises, But on this ridge, we'll be able to see all three of those destinations: Fletcher Peak, Mummy's Toe, and Mummy Mountain. So here we go on up, and we're ascending where the regular North Loop Trail, continues pretty level and then takes an ascent. So onward. Okay, here we are on the North Loop Ridge, and you're looking straight at Mummy's Toe. So like I said, this little detour ridge gives a great opportunity to see Mummy's Toe from a perspective you will not see it otherwise. And then to the right of Mummy's Toe, you see, let's just take a look. You see this area right up here where there's that little cliff on the right. That's Mummy's Knee. Just to the left of that little cliff is Mummy's Knee. We were there a couple weeks ago. We're going to head up the Mummy Springs Trail till it becomes switchbacks, and we're going to end up ascending right in this area, just above this lower cliff line, which is Mummy's Toe, and then angle on up to Mummy's Toe. It feels weird calling it Mummy's Toe because no one has just one toe. You could call it toes, but then again, there's only one. So it's always a question what to call this feature, but we'll call it Mummy's Toe for today. Okay, and by the way, if you want to see an awesome view of Mummy Mountain where you can really see it looking like a mummy, and then you can look at the toe and you say, yes, this is the toe. Go to LasVegasAreaTrails.com and take the 4-Peak Circuit page, Charleston Wilderness 4-Peak Circuit, and so let's see, Charleston Wilderness, and then Circuit Adventures, and then the 4-Peak Circuit, and look at the slideshow on that page. There are some awesome morning views of Mummy Mountain, and you can see the mummy. It looks on that slideshow, some of those pictures, like it's about ready to get up and start walking. So anyway, if you have ever looked at Mummy Mountain, you're wondering, why do they call this Mummy Mountain? I don't see a mummy. And right now, no, you don't see a mummy. Just look at that 4-Peak Circuit page on LasVegasAreaTrails.com, and you will be a mummy converted person. You'll know the mummy. Okay, let's continue on up here. And as you can see, another reason why I like this route is that there are just some beautiful bristlecone pine tree formations. And here's one here and you see the lower area, it looks like driftwood, and then you've got some living pine above that. It's almost like if you were to create a bonsai tree, this would be a great model for creating a bonsai tree. And by the way, you can create bonsais of bristlecone pines, but make it a lifetime project or you'll never see your work, because it'll take a lot of years, and you gotta take care of it every single day for about 50 years and never miss watering or caring for your bonsai. One or 2 days or a week without watering, and you're likely to lose 40 years worth of bonsai work. So anyway, yeah, look at this tree. Let's get a little further back. Just a minute. Yeah, there we go. And you can see that bristlecone bonsai right there. Okay, let's continue on. Here we are topping that North Loop Ridge, and you're going to see some amazing views. And the little bristlecone pine forest up here is also pretty amazing. Let's just look around and see what we can see. First of all, yes, here is the bristlecone pine forest. These pines surviving on this ridge, which you can imagine in the winter is exposed to a lot of wind and snow, ice, rain. So these trees up here are definitely pretty rugged to be in this spot. Okay, so let's take a look around and see what we can see here. First of all, here's a good shot of Fletcher Peak. And as I said earlier, we will potentially shoot on up to the summit of Fletcher Peak from the trail on the way back, and you can see portions of the Fletcher Peak cutoff trail down here, that barren area, and then on up, angles around, and then up to the summit of Fletcher Peak. But there's more in view here. Here's a good shot of Griffith Peak. There's plenty of pages on LasVegasAreaTrails.com that show different routes to Griffith Peak and a lot of different beautiful shots. Okay, and then coming around here, you see Mummy's Toe, which is one of our destinations for today. So, maybe we'll get Mummy's Toe, and then on the way back, we'll circle around and head on up to Fletcher Peak, and then back down the North Loop Trail to our point of origin at the North Loop Trailhead. So there you have it. This is what I call the North Loop Ridge. Let's just see if we can get a little more of Mummy Mountain. Very unique, beautiful views, by the way, from this location. Okay, so here you go. There is Mummy's Toe, and then right there, Mummy's Knees. Beautiful bristlecone pine granite area there. And then there is the summit of Mummy Mountain. And you can see on Mummy Mountain southeast page where that line of trees, nearly, about 2/3 of the way up that cliff, where we did a very frightening ascent there. One time, 2 times actually. First time I said I'd never do it again, then the next week, there I am again. But that's it. Never again. Okay. And then here is Delta Canyon, and you can see that on Mummy northeast page of Las Vegas Area Trails, and the ascent up that cliff, which is a lot more friendly. No exposure, but wow, is that a steep avalanche hill. I attempted to descend that avalanche slope once and had to turn around. So I still need to master the ability to descend that avalanche slope. And why would that be? Because one of these days I will actually complete the 6-peak circuit. I've done 4 of the peaks, have not done 5 and 6. And the 4 are, you can't see Fletcher Peak there, but I mean, you can't see Harris Mountain, but there's Harris Mountain, and then on up to Griffith Peak, then on over to Charleston Peak, which is not visible, then Lee Peak, and then over to Mummy Mountain, and then down that cliff into Delta Canyon, then across the wilderness to Rain Tree, and then over to Fletcher Peak. And that would be 6 peaks that are over 10,000 feet in less than 24 hours, which is my goal, and 3 or 4 major wilderness areas to traverse, which really slows things down. But yeah, I've got some strategy pages and one attempt just about 4 weeks ago where I made 4 of the peaks: Harris, Griffith, Charleston, and Lee Peak, and pooped out before I hit Mummy and Fletcher. But I'm going to streamline that route in the future, and eventually be able to hit those 6 peaks. We'll see. Okay. Anyway, onward. Let's head down to Rain Tree and then on up to Mummy's Toe. By the way, here's a question. Where is that Fletcher Peak cutoff trail? It's unmarked. How do you find it? Okay, when you're heading toward Rain Tree and you're heading down the last stretch toward Rain Tree, you're going to see you're going to see a log that's been cut and leaving a trail opening there. Okay, between the 2 logs. Okay, that's the first one of such logs. And shortly afterwards, you're going to see another log that has been cut so that people can pass through without climbing over it. Here it is. And this second one is actually the unmarked cutoff trail for Rain Tree. For Fletcher Peak, sorry. And it's probably, I don't know, another mile and 500-800 feet to get to the summit of Fletcher Peak from this point, maybe 1,000. I haven't measured it, but it's a good little climb. Anyway, that's how you get to Fletcher Peak if you're coming from this direction. And if you're coming from Rain Tree and you're going up the North Loop Trail, then it's going to look like this. And there's the indication. It'll be the first cutaway log trail crossing there that you see on the North Loop Trail, after you've begun ascending beyond Rain Tree. And it's not too far. It's about 1/8 of a mile. So there you have it. Fletcher Peak cutoff. And here we have the beautiful Rain Tree right beyond this trail marker sign. And that sign, by the way, you take a right and head to Mummy Springs if you're going to Mummy's Toe. But I just wanted to take a moment and look at this 3,000-year-old bristlecone pine. Just majestic. Here it is. Can you imagine this? Around 1000 BC, it was a little rain tree. And here's the canopy. So that's Rain Tree. And let's take a look at what this was at 1000 BC during the classical Greek era. Here we are. that would be Rain Tree during and before the classical Greek era. And all of history has passed by as this tree has grown and thrived in this place. Well, here we are at Mummy Springs, a waypoint along the way to Mummy's Toe. And there is a good shot of Mummy Springs. And it's just a little trickle. Actually, take a look at the Cathedral Rock to Charleston Peak page on Las Vegas Area Trails. And there you will see another spring. I call it David Spring because I don't know that it has a name, and it's in the middle of nowhere. There's no trail to it. But as you ascend above Cathedral Rock to the summit of the south ridge of Kyle Canyon, there is a beautiful spring that emerges from the rocks and flows as a stream for about 1/8 of a mile, then disappears in the rocks again and creates a whole amazing climate zone with wildflowers and little waterfalls and lush greenery. That's above Cathedral Rock. If you just head up at that point where, well, you'll see. Go look at the Las Vegas Area Trails page, Cathedral Rock to Charleston Peak, and just see where that route is and how to find David Springs. Okay, onward. Okay, I want to point out a few wilderness routes that split off from this route. And the first one is, after you pass under Mummy Springs, at the base of Mummy Springs, you're going to find a pretty nice little trail that begins to switch back and head up. Well, it's going to go straight for some time until you hit the first major switchback. And the reason I'm pointing that out, here is that switchback. And notice the logs and the landmarks here. And I like to also point out there's almost like an arch here. So to me that says we are at a major breakoff point. And guess what? Here's a log right here. You head up, angling to the right into the wilderness, and then you're going to head a little more to the right. You're going to cross 3 canyons, 3 ridges, and you'll hit Delta Canyon. You're paralleling the eastern cliffs of Mummy Mountain. Head up Delta Canyon, and you can approach the southeast Mummy Mountain approach or the northeast summit approach. And there are pages on LasVegasAreaTrails.com for both of those approaches to Mummy Mountain. But here is where, this is a great place right at this point in the Mummy Springs Trail. Break off into the wilderness and then head across the eastern base of the Mummy Mountain cliffs and find Delta Canyon. And you can see on those pages on LasVegasAreaTrails.com where I show you how to find that route and navigate that route. But today, what we're going to do we're going to continue on up the Mummy Springs Trail. It's going to pass above Mummy Springs in a bit, and then there'll be a series of very steep switchbacks that get steeper and steeper the higher you get. There is, after maybe an eighth of a mile or so, there is and there's Mummy's Toe, by the way, which is our destination. But anyway, as I was saying, about an eighth of a mile up the trail, about a fourth of a mile from here, but an eighth of a mile from where, above Mummy Springs, where it becomes steep switchbacks. There will be a class 3 climbing section, very short and pretty easy to navigate. You get above that class 3 climbing section, and then you're going to want to break off to the left for Mummy's Toe, or continue straight for Mummy's Knees. And I'll show you those routes in a moment. By the way, I have not made Mummy's Toe before, so I'm not sure of the route that actually gets you up to Mummy's Toe. And by the way, at the base of Mummy's Toe is Rain Tree. Anyway, we'll discover that together today. Here we go. We are now above Mummy Springs, and there you can see the channel under which Mummy Springs is flowing, and then it reaches down here the cliff, or the little rocky outcrop that it spills over, making Mummy Springs. And we were down there just a moment ago. We're looking at it from above. And oh, by the way, as long as we're here, let's look up, and you see Mummy's Toe right there. What we're going to do is circle above and to the right of those, of that cliff formation of Mummy's Toe, and ascend to the summit of Mummy's Toe. If all goes well. I've not done it before, so no promises yet. Anyway, a little more on Mummy Springs is that, yes, you don't see any water here. That's because the water flows from under the rocks, comes out over that little rocky outcrop, spills over it, just making it damp throughout the summer. Cool thing is that in the fall, as it begins to freeze, there are successive layers of water that freeze, and by October, you're looking at a cascading ice fall that is pretty dramatic. So that's a great time to look at Mummy Springs. I believe that the ridge where we stood on just a moment ago is straight ahead, where we were looking at Mummy's Toe and the east side of Mummy Mountain, and Griffith Peak, Fletcher Peak, which would be beyond that ridge. So anyway, that gives you an idea of where we were standing a moment ago. And you see a little pointy mountain in the far background, just to the left of that ridge. That would be Gas Peak. We'll get some shots of this on the way back when the sun is behind us. Anyway, here at the top of Mummy Springs begins some more serious switchbacks, winding up to about an eighth of a mile to the little class 3 climbing section. And then we're going to start looking at where we navigate to the left to hit Mummy's Toe. Don't continue up the switchbacks, because if you continue all the way up to Mummy's Knee, I think it's a little problematic getting from Mummy's Knee to Mummy's Toe. So the best way, I think, is to angle to the left before you get up to Mummy's Knee. You know, Mummy's Knee is kind of a dead end that when you're going to Mummy's Knees, then great, that's where you go. You really have a tough time going anywhere else beyond Mummy's Knees. So we're going to navigate, find a path that navigates across to Mummy's Toe today. Here we go. Continuing up this steep series of switchbacks above Mummy Springs area, and we'll head around this tree and then continue on up. You got to kind of piece it together. It's not real visible, but there are places where, enough places where you see the trail. What I wanted to show you is that, you know, here off to the left are a series of cliffs. We definitely want to get above those before we turn left. But what we want to do is turn left right at the summit of these cliffs and then head on up to Mummy's Toe. That's the way I think is going to be the most direct route to Mummy's Toe without having to navigate cliffs or get stopped by a dead-end cliff. No, we don't want that to happen. So here we go, continuing on up. We haven't hit the class 3 climbing section, but we're getting mighty close. Here we are at the class 3 climb section, and this actually helps us to top those lower cliffs we saw a moment ago. And once we top the lower cliffs, we need to be looking for a way to angle off to the left toward Mummy's Toe. So, and this little class 3 climbing section is not difficult at all. Just keep 3 points of contact. It's only about 15 feet and plenty of holds. So should not be any problem. Anyway, here we go, and get to the top of this and look to where we angle to the left up toward Mummy's Toe. Okay, we are just a little bit above that class 3 climb section. And there's a big rock here and a convenient little cairn. And it looks like I could almost begin angling over at this point to the left and upward and heading toward Mummy's Toe. So let's go ahead and try that and just see what happens. Here we go. Continuing to angle up toward Mummy's Toe, and this is the kind of terrain we're looking at. It's not really difficult. You just, find footholds and it's not too brutal an angle of ascent as you're angling your way up to Mummy's Toe. So far so good. Beautiful bristlecone pine forest all around us and some landmarks coming into view. There is the Mount Charleston Observatory. Behind it, you see this tree right in the center, this little tree. Okay, just to the right of this little tree is Gas Peak. You see a pointy peak. And over to the left of the little tree is the Sheep Range. So that gives you an idea where we are. And then, if you look down, you see those glistening cars down there. That is where the Beast is parked. And that's the North Loop Trailhead. So it's taken about 2.5 hours to get to this point, maybe 2 hours, 45 minutes. And yet you can see the trailhead. If I were a crow flying, I'd probably do it in about 5 minutes. But I don't want to try to do that without wings. Okay, anyway, here's the avalanche slope that we are on. And as long as you find the right angle of ascent, and I believe there are signs of other people having made this ascent, because I can see some disturbed ground here and there. And so, yeah, right ahead here, you look closely at the ground. It's just slightly disturbed, showing that somebody ascended this direction at some time in the past. We don't know how long ago it was, but that I always look for that sign, which shows me that, hey, I'm on some kind of route and not heading toward a dead end drop off. Anyway, so here we are heading up toward Mummy's Toe, and let's just continue to navigate and see where we end up. Continuing to rise up towards Mummy's Toe, and you're looking back now. This is the area we've been angling around and circumventing logs and boulders, and it's definitely not a trail, but it works. And there you can see some cliffs down in this direction. This is the far side of the canyon that ends at Mummy Springs. And there we're looking straight down the canyon toward Mummy Springs. And then we look over here, the Charleston Observatory, and you can see a green football field there. I believe that's a place where NFL teams can do their winter conditioning. And then behind that, a little bit to the right, you see that pointy mountain. That's Gas Peak. And then moving along to the left of Gas Peak and looking at the horizon, there you see the Sheep Range. And then, heading on up the I-95 corridor toward Reno and the Death Valley cutoff. That's the area there. And then that pointy mountain, I know it has a name, that's the north edge of Mummy Mountain. Okay, now looking down and around, down here is our North Loop Trailhead parking area. You might see some glistening cars down there. And that pretty much gives you the idea of where we are. Oh, by the way, here is, heading up. It's starting to level off a bit. So we may, if this height is Mummy's Toe, we've made it. If it's a false summit and there's another cliff to Mummy's Toe, maybe we'll not make Mummy's Toe today. But we'll see. We're going to find out very soon as we round this next, top this next little ridge ahead. Okay, there you have it. Mummy's Toe, approaching it, almost there. Well, we are approaching some summit. We don't know for sure, but let's just hope this is actually Mummy's Toe. Wouldn't that be nice? And then I won't be looking off in the distance and seeing another summit that actually is Mummy's Toe, which could very well happen here. Look over there. That is Mummy's Toe over there. Okay, so let's continue on along this way just to see where we end up. Now, okay, so this little summit is not Mummy's Toe, but we'll take a look up at this summit. Maybe I started to angle a little too soon, which puts me in a situation where there may be some real challenging sections between here and Mummy's Toe, which is ahead. So let's go ahead and, yes, this was a false Mummy's Toe that I'm on. And the true Mummy's Toe is straight ahead. So here's false Mummy's Toe. And through the trees is the true Mummy's Toe. The question is, boy, it looks pretty rugged there. The question is, can I navigate from where I'm standing here over to Mummy's Toe? We'll see. Whoa, I missed Mummy's Toe. So I'm going to call this Mummy's Shins. And lower leg, because Mummy's Toe is still ahead. And you can see there are places we're not going to venture, such as the edge of this cliff. And you see cliffs all around. Can I angle around the other side and still get to Mummy's Toe? We don't know. Here's Charleston Village. Straight ahead, there's Griffith Peak and Harris Mountain and the saddle in between. So you can see some cool views, but as you can see, we are in a very wild bristlecone pine tree spot. This is, this is just below Mummy's knees, and I could actually head back up to Mummy's knees after I explore just a little further. I want to see if there is a way to Mummy's Toe from here. So here we go. Let's give it a try. Okay, continuing to angle along this avalanche slope just below the rockiest section up here. And we want to avoid this kind of stuff. And it looks like I can angle along here. We don't know when we're going to hit a drop off or if we're going to hit a drop off, but we are indeed heading toward Mummy's Toe. Let's see if there is a way up Mummy's Toe from here. Well, we're closing in on Mummy's Toe. Still no guarantee that we're actually going to get there. You can see there's definitely no climbing that side, but and no climbing straight through. But down below us here, there is looks like a route people have traveled before that has emerged. And let's hope that, there's a little saddle down here and then I can head on up to Mummy's Toe. No guarantees, but let's just see if it is possible. Very rugged here. Stark cliffs just on the other side of us. And then beautiful bristlecone pine forest slopes here. So you can see there are limited routes to the toe. We're gonna discover how to get there. Okay, that's it for right now. Let's see if we can get around. Anyway, here's a great shot of Griffith Peak. Well, miracles do happen. I have been traveling along the top of this ridge between Mummy's knees and Mummy's Toe, and all of a sudden I see before me what looks like a little trail that goes up the backside of Mummy's Toe. So it looks like we will make the summit of Mummy's Toe. Another little thing to note here is that this trail, rather than continuing along the upper ridge toward Mummy's knee, actually it looks like somebody has headed down. I might try that, but I know there are some cliffs down there too, so I don't know. We'll see. I'd like to find a way that angles back over to the Mummy Springs Canyon. We'll just see. But Just a very beautiful area here between Mummy's Knees and Mummy's Toe. You've got the granite rock all around you. You've got majestic bristlecone pines, 1,000, 2,000, some even 3,000 years old. And so there's a lot of beauty in this area, largely untouched. Like I said, there's a little trail here that someone has, or a route someone has taken before. Looks like a few people have taken this, but I doubt that if you ever come up here, you'll ever see anyone on this route, because there's probably, 4 or 5 people that take this route in a year, if that at most. Okay, so onward. Okay, I'm finding myself on a beautiful little switchback trail heading up the backside of Mummy's Toe. And pretty confident that this is the trail that leads to Mummy's Toe. Where it began, I do not know. I may do some exploring to find a better route, or maybe we just take this over to Mummy's Knees and then head down that direction. And I may actually do that. I'm familiar with that route. We'll see on the way back. But for now, yeah, it's looking really good for making Mummy's Toes. Well, here we are, ascending the final section as up to Mummy's Toe summit. And it's starting to level off a bit from the avalanche slopes below, which is always what happens as you're getting close to a summit of at least a rounded mountain. If we're talking like straight avalanche slope that heads up like the one that heads up the east side of Mummy Mountain, no, there's what we call a head wall toward the summit, where you're ascending and then all of a sudden you're faced with a last section that is far more of an incline, sometimes even a cliff. That's what you call the head wall. And I guess you could call this little rock formation a head wall, except we can easily skirt it here. So anyway, here we are, ascending toward Mummy's Toe. Look at these bristlecone pines around us. And of course, let's just take a look real quick. There you see the 95 corridor heading up toward Reno, and then splits off to the left and heads to Death Valley. There's the summit of Mummy Mountain straight ahead. And look at that bristlecone pine. So here we are, heading up to Mummy's Toe, the summit of Mummy's Toe. And I got to say that when it comes to favorite summits in the Spring Mountains, I would put maybe this would be first, because the bristlecone pine forest and the combination of that and the granite rock around us just makes for an unmatched beauty. And my second favorite summit would be the summit of Mummy Mountain, which has, again, a beautiful bristlecone pine forest. Not so much the granite, or at least the granite that is so evident here. And then third might be Griffith Peak, Fletcher Peak, and finally, my last favorite summit would probably be Charleston Peak. Everyone goes to Charleston Peak because it is the highest. Only it's just about 500 to 800 feet higher than where we are right now. But they go to Charleston Peak because it is the highest at 11,920 feet, and they want to make that summit. But when you get up to the top of Charleston Peak, It's just a gravel hill, very stark, no trees, nothing. And so that's why I would rank this summit. Look at that tree. That's just awesome. That's why I'd rank this summit as my #1 favorite summit in the Spring Mountains. I'm sure there's a lot more to come, but for right now, let's call this #1. And look at these. Bristlecone pines like this, you could be looking easily between 2,000 and 3,000 years old. Probably more toward 2. It's not quite as large. And there you can see the northern area of Mummy Mountain summit. So, yeah, pretty awesome up here. Okay, and let's continue on up. Looks like we've got a final, head wall. And let's see if I can keep holding the camera on the way up, or if I'm going to have to stop it and restart it. Okay, looking good, actually. Just find the stairs. And here we are at the ultimate summit of Mummy's Toe. Well, just a couple more steps. Just want to be a little careful here because from my view of Mummy's Toe, there's got to be a dramatic drop-off that, maybe 2,000 feet vertical over here. No, it's, there's a lot of room up here. Wow. Look at this. And let's put my hiking sticks down and let's just take a look around what we're seeing. It's just like everything. We are seeing everything in the Spring Mountains. So, where do I start? Let's just start over here. And what we're seeing there is Centennial Hills area in the Las Vegas Valley. And we look over this way and we see La Madre Mountain. You see that permanent snowfield there? It's actually a beautiful granite slab. Looks like it's been smoothed out. And down ahead, I believe we're looking down at Fletcher Peak, but I'm not sure. So can't be sure on that one. Okay, and then looking over this way, there you see Harris Mountain. And there's a saddle there up to Griffith Peak. And if we just look straight down, we're looking straight down into Charleston Village and Cathedral Rock and Coxcomb Ridge. But let's go back up to Griffith Peak. There we are at Griffith Peak. Now we travel along the whole south ridge of Kyle Canyon. There we go, when you're going from Griffith Peak to Charleston Peak. And there is Charleston Peak. Like I said, no trees. And then you continue on a ways, and there's Lee Peak. And Then we have, to the right of Lee Peak, we have the north ridge of Kyle Canyon, which I take when I'm taking the shortcut from Lee Peak to Mummy Mountain, because that saves descending and reascending about 500 to 1,000 feet. And here we've got Mummy Mountain. There's the summit of Mummy Mountain. And then over here are Mummy's knees, right in this area here. We just traversed this area, and you can see the rugged cliffs here, which, going back, we're definitely not going to take a straight shot as the crow flies, because it'd be a short flight. Okay, anyway, and then continuing around, there's the northern part of Mummy Mountain, and then looking down the 95 corridor and taking a left would take us to Death Valley. Okay, continuing along, you can see across some mountains there. That is the Sheep Range. We've explored a little bit in the Sheep Range, not much. We'll return there and create a whole section on the Sheep Range. The challenge is all the distances are pretty great, and they all take a four-wheel drive, and the beast doesn't handle four-wheel drive roads, so I have to run those roads. So any exploration in the Sheep Mountains is going to be a marathon distance. Okay, and then looking straight through to the that valley there, that would be the valley where in the center of it you see a little ridge. That would be Fossil Ridge. And then you see a pointy mountain. That is Griffith Peak. I mean, not Griffith Peak, sorry. It is Gas Peak. I get kind of loopy when I get up at this altitude. We must be around 11,000 feet, because I know that the summit of Mummy Mountain that you saw just a moment ago is 11,500. And there we are back at the Las Vegas Valley, and there you have your 360-degree view of where we are standing here on Mummy's Toe. How amazing. This is definitely a destination to reach. It took me about 3 hours from the North Loop trailhead, but you can look at the timestamp on the video at this point, and you'll see, take away the time that I was standing doing videos, and so we may be looking at 2 hours and 15 minutes if I wasn't taking videos. Anyway, it's not a real long trip, and it is truly beautiful. Let's do a 360-degree view and just watch in silence. Okay, and I was so busy looking upward at all the mountains and enjoying the view that I didn't notice that right at my feet here's the summit box for Mummy's Toe. So you can actually sign this summit box and let people know that you made Mummy's Toe. And there probably aren't too many people that have signed it. I don't sign summit boxes myself, but yeah, maybe one of these days I'll hit all these peaks and sign all the summit boxes. Okay, there you have it. Summit of Mummy's Toe. Okay, I'm going to do something different today. I'm going to go down a different way. Descend a different route from the route that I took on my ascent. I met a meetup group at the top of Mummy's Toe, about 15 people from meetup. And they said that they came straight up here. They didn't go to Mummy's Knees, which would be that direction, which is the way I came from. And I've noticed this little trail right here that heads down, so I'm going to head down this way. They said that they were pretty much on a trail the whole way. So we're going to just see if this creates a better route than the route that I took on the way up. If not, then I can always retrace my steps and circle around and do all sorts of things, but to get back down to the Mummy Springs area. But I just want to try this out, see how it works. So this may be more the main route and save some of that avalanche hill traversing that I did on the way up. We'll see. Okay, here we go. Wow, this is a pretty amazing little switchback trail. Much easier than the way that I ascended so far. We'll see where it goes, but wow, this is just pretty amazing. It's probably the main trail up to Mummy's Toe, which I didn't know existed, but hey, we make discoveries and we adjust going forward. So continuing on down this beautiful little switchback trail. Here we go. This little trail skirts that lower cliff area that we saw earlier on the way up. And so there must be a connection over this way to the other switchback that leads down toward Mummy Springs. We'll see. I guess we just continue right along the upper edge of this lower cliff system. And let's see what happens. Moving ahead. Okay. Arrived at that class 3 climbing section and the main switchback trail heading down toward Mummy Springs. How did we get here and where did we turn off to hit this other trail that goes off to Mummy's Toe? It was just continuing right along that slope right there ahead, and then traversing the top, just the top area of those cliffs that you see. And what appears is a trail that takes you up to Mummy's Toe. So that is the shortcut to Mummy's Toe. I took the long way a while ago, where I headed up to Mummy's Knees, and I was heading up this direction further. But actually right above the class 3 climbing section, you just begin to veer to the left and just hug the top of the cliffs here. And that'll take you right up. You'll see a trail up here, and it'll take you right up to Mummy's Toe. And once again, here is that little class 3 climbing section. So that's pretty cool. That saved a lot of time. Okay, continuing on down. Well, I told myself that if I made it back to the Fletcher Peak turnoff by 12:30, that I'd shoot on up to Fletcher Peak today. and it's 12:25. So guess what we're doing? Here's the Fletcher Peak turnoff, and we're heading on up to Fletcher Peak. So here we go. Fletcher Peak coming into view soon. There it is. There is Fletcher Peak. So, I don't know, 800 feet to the summit. Probably about 45 minutes. We will see. So here we go. Okay, we are on the Fletcher Peak Trail. Fletcher Peak is actually higher than Mummy's Toe. It's about, I don't know, 100 feet, 200 feet higher in elevation. So there we are looking up at Mummy's Toe where we just descended. And that means that even though Fletcher Peak, here's the trail, even though Fletcher Peak has a great trail to get to the summit of Fletcher Peak, that's actually a couple hundred feet higher than Mummy. And there is Fletcher Peak, by the way. So we got a ways to go. Let's just take a quick 360-degree view. And here we are in another beautiful bristlecone pine forest. There's Griffith Peak, by the way, right in the center. And then panning around, Charleston Peak. And again, Mummy's Toe. We just descended from Mummy's Toe. And ascending another 1,200 feet to get to Fletcher Peak. That's 1,200 feet from the North Loop Trail. So, okay, here we go. Onward to Fletcher Peak. Well, forget everything I said earlier about altitudes, because I had them all wrong, at least on Fletcher Peak and Mummy's Toe. Turns out I had miscalculated. Mummy's Toe is actually near 11,000 feet. Just under 11,000 feet, 10,900 and something. Fletcher Peak is 10,200. So we're looking about at an 800-foot difference between the summit of Fletcher Peak, where we are right now, and Mummy Mountain Toe. So anyway, we're here, and there is Harris Mountain, the saddle to Griffith Peak, and then you can see all the way along the south ridge of Kyle Canyon, all the way to Charleston Peak, which is in the center there. And then circling around, here's Mummy's Toe. We were standing on top of that cliff just a while ago. And I love Fletcher Peak because of the beautiful bristlecone pine trees at the summit. And here they are. So, and Fletcher Peak actually has a dual summit. There's the other side of the summit of Fletcher Peak. But this is the true summit, and straight ahead is the summit box. So there we are, summit of Fletcher Peak. And just another circuit. Here's Charleston Village down there. And here's another perspective of Coxcomb Ridge, right in the center there. And also, there is a shot of Cathedral Rock down there. Let's see. Yeah, down in that area. I've got too much glare on my phone. There we go. Cathedral Rock. So that's pretty much the view that we have from this perspective up on Fletcher Peak. We'll stay here for just a little bit and then head down the trail to the North Loop trailhead. Okay, a lot of wind, but I want to point out a few things. One is Charleston Village down there. When we head up to Harris Peak or Harris Mountain, we take that little road and then we head up the ridge right up to Harris Mountain, which is in the center. And then we head on over from Harris Mountain down to the Saddle and then up to Griffith Peak. Some other points of interest are there's Cathedral Rock, and then here is that route that we take up toward the summit of Kyle Canyon, the South Ridge. And as I look at it from here, wow, I'm not sure that it is possible to make that summit during the summer. You might need snow and crampons. Who knows? But anyway, that's where that is. There's Coxcomb Ridge. And as you look at Coxcomb Ridge, if you zero in right to this location, that is the junction of the Trail Canyon Trail and the North Loop Trail. And then of course you can head over to Coxcomb Ridge there, or you can head on up to Mummy Mountain in the Charleston Peak circuit. So there are some landmarks there. And let's just take a look around here, see what we can see. There's the summit box at the summit of Fletcher Peak. And then great view of the valley all around. We come over to this side. And then there's a great view of Mummy Mountain. The toe to the left where we were just a little bit earlier. And continuing on around here, yeah, looking down in this area, you can see a black burnt out area. About 6 weeks ago, there was a fire down there and it burned all that land. And those red lines that you see, we've looked at those from the summit of Mummy Mountain, and that's where the fire retardant was able to stop the spread of the fire, the advance of the fire. And then we've got the Charleston Observatory in this direction. Behind it, a little bit to the left, is the Sheep Range. And let's advance just a little bit further here. Okay, what else can we see here? I believe that straight down in this area is the North Loop Trailhead parking lot. That's where the beast is parked right now. And what else can we see? Over in this direction, there's Gas Peak. Which makes this area down there is Centennial Hills in the Las Vegas Valley. 102 degrees at the moment down there, and it's probably a nice 75 degrees, maybe 80, but I think it's more like 75 up here. Nice cool breeze. So yeah, if you live in Las Vegas, you want to get out of the house. You don't want to have four walls and a roof around you in order to be cool with air conditioning. And you just want to look forever. You want to have a view that extends forever. Then you need to come up to a place like this. And natural air conditioning and limitless views. Okay, we're getting ready to head back down now. Heading down the North Loop Trail to the trailhead. It's been quite a day. Mummy Mountain's toe and Fletcher Peak on the way back. There's the toe of Mummy Mountain. By the way, the northeast approach to Mummy Mountain up the northeast cliff would be right in that area. So you'd go straight up right the center of the screen here. And we've done that before too on the Mummy Mountain northeast page. So there you have it. That's the story. Now we're going to head back. Should take another little over an hour to be down at the trailhead. Beautiful area though, hard to leave. But all good things must come to an end. Here we go. Here's what this plateau looks like in the afternoon. Sun behind us. So, yeah, Gas Peak is a little more visible in the background there. The pointy peak. And then we're looking down Kyle Canyon. And beyond Kyle Canyon, the Las Vegas Valley, Centennial Hills area, northern Las Vegas Valley. So there you go. That's about as clear as it's going to get today. There's a lot of haze in the air. And then once again, this beautiful, beautiful plateau with its forest, bristlecone pine forest, and then great shot of Mummy Mountain. Actually, the morning view is much better, but there you can see Delta Canyon and the cliffs on the eastern side. Okay, that is probably going to do it for the day. What a great day this has been. We have done Mummy's Toe for the first time, and actually gone from the knees to the toe. So determined that that is possible. And then shot up to Fletcher Peak. It's about a half hour each way from the North Loop trailhead where that Fletcher Peak trail cuts off. And by the way, speaking of Las Vegas, yeah, Las Vegas Valley, that is actually the Strip right in the center. So that means everything to the left is north. And if we're looking at Centennial Hills area, Centennial Hills would be more up in this area. Okay. Well, signing off for today. Fantastic day up in the Spring Mountains.